And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Happy Tuesday. Today is January the 16th. If you are in the greater Houston area, I hope that you are safe and warm. And if you are able to watch me, you have some sort of power, even if it is just with your phone. Listen, if you don't have to be out in those icy cold streets, I'm encouraging you not to do it. Don't do it. Stay in. It's cold. We are fortunate. We have power in most of the house. And so I'm going to be grateful for that. But listen, super excited about today's show and so much to talk with you about. I just want to make sure I didn't get this right last week. That let me just go back and make sure that I have my friends over at Instagram who are with us. Let me just double check. To make sure that they can see us and stream. So this is something new, and I'm not really sure. It looks like that we are good for Instagram. If you're watching from Instagram, if you will let me know, that would be super awesome. I want to make sure that I have enabled the Instagram stream as well as all of the others. It's something that we have that is new to Instagram. I mean, new to this platform. And I think that before I may have missed it. And I don't want to leave our Instagram audience out. So anyway, if you're watching on Instagram, if you will be so kind as to let me know, that would be awesome. Okay. In the meantime, welcome. It's been a super, man, it's been exciting. It's been a great sports week. It has been cold around the country. It has been in some places dangerously cold. And it's been some fun stuff, man, happening in the world of sports. It's been exciting. And if you happen to be a Houston Texans fan, you just got to be excited about where this team is, right? You just have to really be excited about what they're doing. If somehow I don't know, you've been in a cave, you were off the grid for a minute, you don't know what's happening. Here's the deal. The Houston Texans played host to the Cleveland Browns on Saturday at Energy Stadium in a wild card playoff game, nationally televised. So for the second week in a row, a national television audience got a chance to see DeMeco Ryans' Houston Texans with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. and Brevin Jordan and Laramie Tunsil and just all of the people that did all of the things. And there's just a lot to be excited about. They won that game handily. 45-14 was the final. After going down 14-10, trailing 14-10, they scored 35 unanswered points. Now, there are some who would call that a beatdown. I want to be respectful, so I don't want to call it that. But, use your words, right? Use your words. It was decisive. And I will say this. I think that head coach DeMeco Ryans put on a masterclass is what he did. Just a few weeks prior to that, the Browns came into NRG Stadium and beat the Texans on Christmas Eve. Now, they did so without CJ Stroud, who was still in concussion protocol. Jonathan Grenard only played, I think, went out early in the first quarter with he got injured. Will Anderson Jr. did not play. I don't think Robert Woods played. Blake Cashman was out. They were banged up. So a lot of those guys were back, right? A lot of those guys were back, and it was super exciting. So what happens now? Well, now they get ready to go play at Baltimore. They play the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday in Baltimore. And the winner of that game punches a ticket to the AFC Championship game. Now, listen, we are not going to get ahead of ourselves because that's not how DeMeco Ryans has really run his team. He's been very focused on week to week. It's the game ahead. And so their focus right now is on going into Baltimore and getting a win against the Ravens. And so, hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Charles and Sylvia, my sister, who had way too much fun watching the game. She was texting me throughout the game. I cannot really share what she texted, but she had a good time. And she was very impressed. She is also not a Cowboys fan. And so that's a whole nother part of the show that we'll get to. And so, hey, good morning, Legacy Blue. It's good to see you, my friend. We've got to catch up. We are way overdue. But there was just a lot of excitement in the building, right? In fact, Brevin Jordan, who had quite an impressive touchdown where he had to then get some oxygen on the sideline. This is what he said about that crowd at NRG Stadium. It was not only a sellout. They were in the stadium in their seats. It was the most energetic I've seen NRG Stadium in quite some time. Some say ever, but it's been a minute. And here's Brevin Jordan talking about the crowd.
Unbelievable. Man, that was the craziest I've ever seen NRG Stadium. That was legit. When I was on kickoff, when they started flashing the flashlights, I looked around and looked at Jake Hansen. I said, man, this is really freaking cool. Like, this is dope, bro. Like, I ain't never seen nothing like this, bro. Our fans showed out today, and they helped us get the dub today.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What did it say about y'all's offense to be able to, like, the Cleveland's defense, top rank, for y'all to be able to come out here in a game like this and perform like y'all did, be able to pull the starters? What does it say about you guys as a unit?
Man, we feel like we've said it, week in and week out. If we play our style of ball, if all 11 guys on the offensive side is going to the right guy, doing their assignment, doing it with a tenacious technique, we feel like nobody can play with us. And it's really that simple, especially when we got 7 back there. As long as everybody, all 11 guys are doing their P's and Q's, man, good luck.
When's the last?
Now, that's one of the things that DeMeco says all the time, right? He was talking about it, and he was talking about it again last week about, and some people say, oh, it's just coach speak when he talks about execution. And not that he ever absolves himself of accountability when the team has a loss and say, I did everything right. They just didn't execute. That's not what he says, but he talks about putting the players in the right positions and communication. Listen, y'all know that's my thing, right? Communication is such a huge piece of it, right? So communicating and trusting that if you just go where you're supposed to be, if your eyes are where your eyes are supposed to be, you've got to trust that. Then it means you've got to trust that your teammate is doing what your teammate is supposed to do. If those things work, if you're doing all those things, then it's going to be okay. And that's kind of what Brevin was saying. Like, if they do what they're supposed to do, that they can play with the best of them. You don't hear anyone. I'm not in their team meetings. So, but you don't hear anyone saying, yeah, we can beat anyone in the league. But what they are saying is that they're confident. And if they do what that they're supposed to do, that they have the tools and they're confident and comfortable to go to the next step and play the next team. Right. And so what else can you ask? So that was kind of cool. That is what he was saying. And so yesterday we had a chance to talk with DeMeco because, it's the week has moved up again, right? Because they play on Saturday. And I think it was Jonathan from the Chronicle who asked him, what made you believe that you could turn this team around even before, like when you took this job, even before any of the draft picks or any of the acquisitions of free agents were made. And here's what DeMeco said about what made him think he could turn this thing around.
Well, for me, I always say for me, it always starts with my faith. I truly believe that, we get all the praise and, we get all the attention. But as I told my team in the first meeting, I truly believe that God's grace is over our team. And I truly believe that, and I don't shy away from saying that because that's what I truly believe. And, we've added a ton of players through whether it's free agency and draft, right? You don't do this alone, but the guys that we added, that says everything, right? You talk about Robert Woods, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, CJ, Will, like all of the men that we added, Jimmy Ward, just added a great group of guys who truly care about winning. And that's it. And when you have guys who prepare with the right mindset, guys who show up with the right mindset daily, unselfish guys. And that's one of the keys that's helped us the most. I think we have a really tight room of unselfish guys. And that allows us to get out of our own way and do whatever it takes, right, to be successful.
Listen, it's fun covering this team, right? It's fun covering the winner, but it's just fun covering this group of men. Hey, good morning, Kevin Walker. I'm glad you like these. Are my new glasses. I got these these are a pair of my birthday glasses. So I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you. Hello, Mike Patton. Thank you all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. He has a show called Tour in the AFC South. Does a great job covering all things AFC. Obviously covers the Titans real closely, but covers the entire division. And you get to work from home today because it's snowy. All right about that. I can't wait for us to talk about which direction the Titans go in terms of their next head coach. Of course, that's way down on our list of conversations, but you and I will chat. And you can just tell me, I won't tell anybody. Is it really true that Amy, one of the things that really put her out with Vrabel was that he lost to the Texans twice. And the fact that they beat the Jaguars, which gave the Texans the division title, did that have anything to do with it? Nah, she's not that petty. All right, we'll come back to that. Sylvia says, Happy New Year, Kevin. And hey, Charles says, I don't even watch the NFL, but now I love Sylvia. Y'all, Sylvia was cutting up, okay? She was texting during the game, carrying out, and if she put up one more Dallas Cowboy meme, I don't know I don't even know where she found them all. She has just been out of control with the Cowboy bashing. Okay. In fact, I was watching the Cowboys game. I'm going to share this, Sylvia. And I actually wanted the Cowboys to win when they're not playing Houston. I mean, I'm okay with it. She was like, I can't even talk to you. I mean, she said, I can't be on the phone with you. One, you're ahead of me with the TV. And two, you want them to win. I do not. She didn't want them to score any points. I was like, wow. So she was super excited. And for her, we have a lot of family in Dallas, but for her, she says it's really more about the Cowboy fans that she doesn't like. So that was really something. It has been quite a weekend, y'all. The Cowboys, let me just put a pin in it real quick and just say that was embarrassing. I mean, I was just like, it looked like they didn't even practice. I can't even imagine that they would have looked so bad and gotten it just at home. It was awful. I heard a stat and I checked it out too. I heard there were two stats. One is that the Green Bay Packers have won more games in that stadium than the Cowboys have. It's one. And that the Houston Texans, since their inception, have won more playoff games. They've won 5 than the Cowboys have, who've won 4 since 2002. What in the world? And so Kevin says, remember when Brevin and Nico were in the bus conversation? What a difference a quarterback makes. You are absolutely right. People were wondering, like, man, if Nico doesn't do something this year, he's going to be out. Not only is Nico not going to be out, Nico is about to get paid, okay? CJ Stroud is not just great for the team and the city, and they're winning, and who knows what could happen. Guys going to get paid because of him. It's some guys going to get a check, a big, big check. Nico's one of them. Brevin's got a bright future. Listen, George Fant has come in, who came in was a free agent, and he's been playing right tackle quite effectively, I might add. He's going to have a payday. It is going to be interesting to see what happens. And Kevin, you're right. It's about believing in yourself. Mike, I like the way you think, and maybe you can help me as like a freelancer. I need this person on my team, right? I do need a glasses line, or a deal with glasses, and somebody to help me with that piece of my business, because I'm not good at that, right? I will admit where my areas of weakness lie, and that is one of them. But I appreciate you, my friend. AFC South Awards show coming this week. The Tories. Oh, I look forward to that. Make sure you let me know about it. I will make sure that everybody who follows Chalk Talk knows all about it. And you said no. That isn't what put Vrabel out. A combination of things, but no, losing to the Texans twice wasn't a factor, really. Cool. I can't wait to talk to you to find out what really did it. I mean, I know that he's had a few things to work with. They haven't done as well as she probably would have liked. He was kind of a golden child in terms of when he came into the Texans, was a linebacker coach for a season, was elevated to defensive coordinator, and then immediately got the job with the Titans. And so, we'll see. I'll be curious to see what happens. But back to the team that's look at you, Kevin, being all nice today. I appreciate you. But now let's go back to the team that is winning. Let's talk about these Houston Texans and just some things that they've done, right? Now, this Cleveland Browns team came in here on Christmas Eve. And there were colleagues of mine, peers, if you will, locally, that talked about DeMeco being outcoached by Stefanski in that game. And I was like, wow, he didn't have, the Case Keenum experiment worked in Tennessee, but it wasn't going to work long term. I mean, I think that we all knew that, right? So you're going against what they say is the best defense in the league with Case Keenum. So you don't have CJ. You didn't have Robert Woods, which is a great role player. Okay. Very, when he's able to do some things. You didn't have Noah Brown. And defensively, you were without Will Anderson Jr. You were without Blake Cashman. You had JG, Jonathan Grenard, your best, edge rusher for what, 3 plays? I mean, he went out in the first quarter, maybe. 3 plays or 3 series. He went out early. So I don't know if it was a fair fight, but you got to field who you have. So anyway, so if he was out coached on Christmas Eve, he put on a masterclass last Saturday. It was brilliant, right? It was brilliant, and it was fun to watch. So now what? They go into Baltimore, and they go into Baltimore this Saturday, and they play the Ravens. Now, they played the Ravens the first game of the season. The Ravens won that game. They were in Baltimore. It wasn't, they weren't beat to death, but listen, they are not the same teams, right? That Ravens team is much better than they were week 1. And this Texans team is much better than they were week 1. I mean, I know those things when you hear coaches say it, sometimes it sounds like it's coach speak, but it really isn't. It's just the truth. This team has come a long way. And one of the things that DeMeco has said since really training camp, right? Because in OTAs, these weren't the conversations you're having. But since training camp, he's talked about getting better every day, getting a little better every day, learning how to do the important things, being consistent, playing unselfish, teamwork, all of those things that now you're going into the division round, you're playing well into January, and now he's saying the same thing. He talks about putting on blinders. When we talked to them on yesterday, they didn't know yet who they were playing. I mean, I think we all thought that they'd be playing at Baltimore. I didn't really think that the Steelers would go into Buffalo and win, especially without, TJ Watt. But you still got to play the game, and especially stranger things have happened, right? But they knew the weather, right? That was a thing we know. We know that there's going to be some crazy weather. And so he talked about the weather. He's not really tripping about the weather. The weather is what it is. But he talked about them just being prepared and doing what they have to do. But here's DeMeco yesterday talking about the weather.
Right. Not sure where we'll be playing, but we do know the elements. There will be cold weather. Gracious that we have cold weather here in Houston this week. It comes at the right time for us to be able to go out, practice outside in the cold weather. I don't think you get used to it. I always say no matter what the conditions are for a game, right, you have 3.5 hours to suck it up, and whatever that weather is, you have to deal with it and be your best in that moment. You're not the only one dealing with the conditions. The other team, they're dealing with the conditions as well. So it's no excuse, no matter what the weather is, where we have to go. Like, man, you have to be excited about the opportunity to play, and whatever it is, you suck it up for 3 hours and you play your best.
I love that. Hey, y'all, you suck it up and you play. It's 3 hours. they're going to be playing in it too, right? It's going to be cold for them as well. And I'm just glad that they're going to Baltimore. I mean, I know it's the Ravens, because the weather more than likely won't be as bad as in Kansas City. I don't know. If you're going to advance to the next round and get to the ultimate goal, which is a Super Bowl, which it sounds ridiculous, right? Like if I had said and uttered those words back in September, you guys may have stopped watching because you were like, man, I can't follow this show. She don't know what she's talking about. But here we are. And I'm not saying they get there, but they're playing this week for a chance to play in the AFC Championship game, which is all they can do, right? Is play this week for a chance to get to the AFC Championship game. So what do we say about the Baltimore Ravens? They're really good. There's some who say they're the best team in the league. They've got the MVP in Lamar Jackson. Clowney's playing really lights out. They're playing really, really well. Last week, what did we say? What did we hear? They're playing the best defense in the whole league. Cleveland Browns have the best defense in the league. So then they beat the Browns 45-14. And then the conversation, well, the Browns defense really hadn't been that good on the road. I mean, come on, y'all. What is it? So I want to talk a little bit about the Browns defense because they had been really good. And we talked about Myles Garrett. He's an Aggie. Just a beast, right? Myles Garrett is really, really good. But on Sunday, you rarely heard his name called. And listen, I am sometimes critical of Laramie Tunsil. I get annoyed when he makes those false starts and gets those holding. I just do. I think he's a veteran and he's too good for some of those kind of mistakes that he makes. But did he do a job on Myles Garrett? Did he handle Myles Garrett on Saturday? CJ was not sacked. I don't even know that he I'm just trying to think, did they touch him at all? I mean, they didn't get much pressure on him. It's not what you expected, right? And Stingley, Amari Cooper, who basically had, he got his AFC Offensive Player of the Week against the Texans in the last game. Stingley did a really good job on Cooper. Here is DeMeco talking about Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, DeMeco, 35 unanswered points, but you often talk about that things start up front. Can you just talk about the job that LT did today with Myles Garrett?
You can't say enough about LT and his performance versus arguably the top defensive player in the NFL right now. And he's done it time and time again. He's done it. He's had that matchup. He looked forward to that matchup, and he stands up time and time again. He pushed through there, struggling, fighting through injury, and still battled. And when you have a left tackle who can do that, that allows CJ to shine. That allows us to get the ball off. Right, it all starts with protection, and it starts with LT doing a tremendous job today versus Myles.
Coach.
I mean, you just got to give credit where credit is due. And, LT the week before the game, he was it the week before he was named to the Pro Bowl? And he said, he basically put some respect on his name. I'm the best in the game, and I want people to know it. And I want people to acknowledge me for that. And then he goes out and he has that kind of game. So when Josh Jones backed into him and he went down, I was like, oh my goodness. And he came back. He came back and he handled it. So Mike says the Tories will air on Thursday night. All right, good deal. Mark, I need you to work on that sponsorship deal for me, Mark Solomon, with Zenny. I think that's a great suggestion. And he says my co-host for the Tories will be none other than Fox Sports' Ben Arthur, who covers the AFC South. So Kevin says, let's talk scheme. Who's going to be the spy? Remember how good Anthony Richardson looked with unscripted plays. That's a great point, Kevin. And, I don't know that, and I don't know who the spy is going to be. And I think those are things that they keep obviously kind of close to the vest. And if I look at this team, I think about who could that be. I tell you a guy who has been playing in recent weeks really well. And he's super athletic, and he's really fast, and that's Christian Harris. I don't know if it's him, but you like what I've seen from him. I don't know if he's the guy, but I imagine that they're going to do something like that. Earlier, I would have said earlier in the year, and I still do, like the linebackers on this team, that has been when you talk about not so much here in terms of the unscripted plays, right? But when you talk about the linebackers and coverage, that has not been a strength for this team. I think Blake Cashman has been their best linebacker in coverage. I think Perryman has struggled in that regard, but I think Christian Harris is getting better every week. So I don't know. I'm not really sure if you do it with like a Harris or if you try it with like a Cashman. But I think that's interesting, because that is going to be important, because you got to do something. You just can't leave Lamar Jackson unattended, because as you mentioned, we saw how that looked in week 2, which they're not going to let that happen again. Mark says, I was hoping they would play KC in the playoffs. The wife is from KC and is a Chiefs fan. The divided house is funny. Well, listen, it could still happen. I mean, if they are able to win on Saturday, they could end up playing KC, because Kansas City has to travel to Buffalo, and the winner of that game punches a ticket for the AFC Championship. Now, I don't know if this KC team can go into Buffalo and win. Kansas City has always played at home since Mahomes has been there. They've not had to go on the road in postseason. Only time they go on the road, it is at a neutral site for the Super Bowl. Their playoff games, their playoff runs have always gone through Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. So stay tuned. We will see what happens. Kevin says, take some Viagra and go give it your best. Viagra helps circulation. You can still feel your fingers and toes and then really cold. That's really interesting. Not really familiar with that. Never heard that before. But do they do that? Like, do football? Are you being funny, or do people really use Viagra to help their circulation? I mean, is that a real thing? Like, they would help their circulation, like, to play? Oh, wow, that's interesting. I don't know if you're being funny, but I'd never heard that before. Guess I wouldn't, because that's not something that I would be that familiar with. But there is another product, and it's called Jinka, and they're one of our longtime partners, which also helps with circulation. And people have said that Jinka provides some of the same benefits that Viagra provides, and the main ingredient in Jinka is a turmeric, and it has 8 natural roots and herbs, but that it does provide that circulation that you're talking about. So maybe they need to get some Jinka to help with circulation in the cold this weekend. That is really, really fascinating. Mike says, Laramie's going to false start a couple of times, just comes with the package. And you know what? You're right, because he's done it since he's been here. And, and I guess that's just keeping it real, right? That's just putting it all in perspective. If he can do what he did. Now, I don't think he had any false starts on Saturday. So, and he had a tremendous game on Saturday, in terms of what he was able to do in managing or handling Myles Garrett. I don't think he had any false starts, but yeah, you can usually count on some of those from him. Let's go back to Brevin Jordan, who, man, that was funny, right? When he made that run down the sideline. I didn't know he was that fast. And then I find out after the game, I think he ran a 4.640 or something. But he said he wasn't worried about stepping out of bounds, but he was worried about, he thought somebody was on his hip. So he talked about that. But then he also talked about CJ and just really, really I mean, we see what CJ does, and we see, just how good he is. And it was a good game for CJ, but it wasn't one of his just like spectacular games, right? He was solid. He didn't really make any mistakes. But here's Brevin Jordan talking about CJ Stroud.
Man, that dude, yeah, I mean, I feel like has there ever been anybody in the NFL as a rookie to just play the way he has, move the way he has? Like, the dude is unbelievable. I really can't put it in, like, the film just says it all. It's really one of those things, the film says it all.
What's going through your mind when you make that catch?
What's going through my mind when I make the catch?
Yeah, Nico said you were scared to get caught.
Yeah. When I caught it, because once we lined up, there was a choke player. He was on the line of scrimmage, so I knew once I blocked out, he was going to blitz, and once I caught it in the flat, I was going to be open. And then once I was open, I just seen a lot of space, made a cut, and then I felt somebody on my hips, so I just really just started getting my knees up, man. I just started getting out of there, and it was just a great play, man. I'm excited.
When did CJ stop like feeling like a rookie to you?
Training camp, I would say, honestly, man. That dude, I wish you guys could be like in the huddle and like just around him, out, like you guys media him and stuff, but the dude is unbelievable. Like how he moves, how he talks, how he just everything. You could tell from training camp that like he was a captain. He was the starting quarterback, QB1, like really since like day 2. You could just tell like how he moved. It was unbelievable.
You say how he moved. Do you mean like when he's playing or just like
no, just like walking around the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah, just walking around the locker room. How he just talks to guys. He's just a very humble, confident guy. When you have a humble, confident guy who just loves to work, man, the sky's the limit for him.
What is DeMeco's message looking forward?
Say that again.
What's DeMeco's message after this game looking forward?
Yeah.
So, when we talk about CJ and we talk about, what he does and, how he plays, as he said, I did ask him that. I asked him, I said, how, your players, most of them obviously are veterans to him. What do they mean? Or what does that mean? How do you move? And here's what he said here's CJ talking about after the game about really how he moves.
Personally, like, I've been this way since I've been a child, like my family's back there, they know. I've always been the youngest in my family, like always been the one, kind of like the one kind of get picked on or whatever, but that made me tough, and I thank God for my family, and honestly, like what I've been through in my life has prepared me for being in the locker room full of men, and being a man amongst men, so I've been blessed enough to even have that reaction from my teammates because I'm honestly just being myself. Like, there's nothing I haven't come in and try to do anything new or like be extra, try to hold people to a certain standard. I'm not holding myself to it. Like, I think I've been doing this since I've been young, so it's cool just to be like working in what God is called into your life. Like, I honestly feel like this is my purpose, not my passion, so also it's connected to my passion, which is football, but I think my purpose is really to spread His word and be just a light in this world, so I'm blessed enough to do that every day.
Cool.
One of the things that's really cool when you listen to CJ and he talks about when he was young. I mean, he's 22, right? He turned 22 in the fall, and he talks about when he was young and when he was a child, but he's like that all the time. I've had a chance to really get to know him since he was drafted. When I say get to know him, I mean, I'm not like hanging out with him, but every week from when he was drafted through spring and training camp, and now every week throughout the season. And he is consistently that person. And I watch how some of my peers who were originally annoyed with him talking about his faith, like, that's going to get old, to now getting it. Like, that's who he is. And it's not a thing that he's saying to, one day he said, I know you guys probably get tired of me talking about it, but this is who I am. And all you can do is respect that, because he doesn't talk about it. He talks about it, but it's a part of his walk, right? And so whatever it is that you do, I mean, earlier when Kevin said something about believing yourself, but it's also about being your authentic self, whoever that is. And that is what he's doing. And that's one of the things that's really super exciting about him. So I got to share this story with you guys. Oh, wait. Mike says Christian Harris could be the spot. Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe Christian Harris, that's the first guy said, could possibly be the spy. He has kind of works his way into that, right? I mean, he has been playing really well, and he's got some jets on him, right? But I have realized something in the last couple of weeks about some of my peers, I'll say, in the industry that I was just so surprised by, right? So, I've done this a long time, love it or I wouldn't do it. And I'm a journalist, but you want the teams you cover to do well, right? You're with these guys day in, day out. You just want the people that you cover to do well. It doesn't mean that I'm not, I'm never unprofessional. You're not like cheering in the press box, because all of that is completely taboo and not allowed. But you want the guys that you cover to do well. I just, that's not new. Anywho, so I had a guy a couple weeks ago say to me, before the Indianapolis game, he said, yeah, and I'm not going to tell you who they are because it's not about really calling them out, but I just wanted to share this that's very different. And he said, yeah, I don't really, I'm fine with them losing. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, I'm tired. It's a long season, Kim, and I'm tired. And, and he travels with the team. And he said, and it's expensive traveling with the team. And when you, are independent, those things are your cost, and, you get sponsored or whatever you do. And I get it. And so I was like, I also thought that was incredibly selfish, right? So fast forward to this week, before the game on Saturday, another guy I'm talking to, and we're talking about getting the game, and, and he says, yeah, man, I'm ready for it to be over. He said, I'm ready for vacation. Guy's young. I don't even know if he's 30. Maybe he is, but if he isn't, I don't think he is. I think he's not 30 yet. But it's not like he's 70 and he's pushing retirement. And I'm like, bro, really? And he said, yeah, I'm tired. And now he didn't say I'm tired. That's not what he said. The other guy said I'm tired. This guy said I'm ready for vacation. And plus, what else can I write? I've written everything that I can say. Okay, I have never, y'all. Let me just tell y'all, just between us, I ain't never heard nothing like that before. I was so shocked. Who are these people? And why are you in this business? What in the world? This is a new breed, right? It's a new breed. I've never seen such. So now it's about you, but these are the same guys that you in their face, and you being all cool with them, and I don't know. Maybe it's me. I was just surprised that that's the mindset, and even more surprised that you're comfortable saying that foolishness out loud. Because to me, that's foolishness. What else can I write? Really? Wow, y'all! I'm telling you, I'm just always amazed. I'm just often amazed, right? Not a whole lot really surprises me, but I was a little surprised by that. And so, and some people, when people say, well, why do you do what you do? Well, I enjoy it. But here's the deal, and I don't say this from any sense of, arrogance, or I feel like my voice is needed, right? I think it's important, but yeah, why shouldn't I still be here? If I'm willing to put in the work, but I just was surprised. Hey, Carolyn from out west, thank you for always being here. Hey, Maurice, thank you as well. Hey, Sylvia. And Bridget said, yep, very different generation. Well, one of the people is not a different generation. Let me just say that. The other one is. It is, and I've had people basically, and I get it. I don't really talk to a lot of people about my business or career goals, or what my dreams and aspirations, because those are mine. And I feel like if God gave it to me, then it's not for anybody else it's not their responsibility to get it and even support it. You know what I mean? Like I don't put that responsibility on others. I also have gotten much better with not really talking about it with a lot of people, because then you're not offended because people don't, like, why you still do this? What do you, it's a young person's industry. And yeah, listen, I'm I'm working it out, right? I'm working it out. Hey, thank you for that, Bridget. I appreciate it. And Mark says, can you shed some light on the streaming deal for the Miami KC game? Truly frustrating. Okay, so it's interesting you say that. Zena called me last night, equally as frustrated about the Australian Open and the tennis. So here's it's as simple as this, Mark. It's sheer greed. There is absolutely no reason for the NFL to have put that game on Peacock and make more. I mean, they're printing money with these TV deals with the networks as it is. There's no reason for them not to have both of those games on over-the-air channels on NBC. That's just greed. So that's the light. The light is the NFL is greedy as hell, and they were dead wrong for that. And ESPN last night, or now, if you watch the Australian Open, if you're a tennis fan, they have gotten to where you only get a couple matches unless you pay extra for an extra package, because then they put those matches that come on at 10:30 at night or later, because there's a time difference. They put them on later because they put them on later because it's in Australia. But if you put it on a different channel, then you make the fans pay more in hopes to get more matches. Otherwise, they only are going to make one or two matches, a men's match and a women's match. I mean, it's just sheer greed. So I think that you should write a letter to the National Football League. Letters matter. People don't think it does. When you have something to complain about, put it in writing, send in a letter, let them know your disappointment, because that's trifling. And Mike says, I believe I know who you're talking about. Does this person cover the No, this person definitely covers the Texans. Both of these people cover the Texans. They're people I see day in, day out. And so, they cover the Texans. The NFL subscribes to Damon Wayans' school of thinking with more money, more money, more money. You're absolutely right, Mike. They want all the money. And it's not like they're not a poor man's league. They're making money. They're making a lot of money. It's what is it, $1 billion package? I don't even know what the package is anymore. But it's bad enough that they put the games on Thursday on Prime. I have Prime. I rarely watch games on Thursday. I hate games on streaming services. I just do, because the feed is not as clean. It's just not. So I don't watch as many games on Thursday, and I have Prime because I subscribe to Prime, not for the games, but I have Prime anyway. And I have Peacock, right? So I have Peacock anyway. But I think you should not have to have a streaming service to watch the National Football League. I remember when, all of their games were on over-the-air channels. You didn't have to even have ESPN to get Monday Night Football. And then, of course, it went back to ABC, and they've gone back and forth. But you didn't have to have ESPN. You didn't have to have cable to watch the National Football League. It is sheer greed. I know exactly who of the people you're talking about. I was surprised to hear people that that work in this league and have the access and the opportunity that many, probably others, might want to actually I don't know. I think it's lazy, I mean, I watch Prime, Mike. I just don't really I don't like the NFL's games on Prime. I don't think they're as clean. And Kevin said, is it greed or smart marketing? I think it's both, but I start with greed. I mean, they're doing it for greed. They're not doing it for smart marketing. I mean, were they trying to reach some other people they're not getting? No, they're trying to get more money, and it is unfortunately the American way. We don't ever have enough. We've got to get some more. And so that is what they're doing. Oh, you like hearing Richard Sherman. Okay, that's cool. I hear you. You like hearing Richard Sherman. Yeah, you like hearing Richard Sherman. I get it. So listen, anybody have thoughts about, before I get out of here, the Texans have a shot on Saturday. What do you think it takes for them to get a win in Baltimore? Do any of you watching give them any chance at all? I'm just curious. And winning this game on Saturday against the Ravens in Baltimore. And also, who are you picking in the Kansas City game? Kansas City Buffalo Bills game in Buffalo. I'd love to know your thoughts about that before we get out of this week's show. I thought I was going to go to the game this weekend. If it was a Sunday game, I was going. A Saturday game makes it a little tough. But if they can win this week, I will go with them to the championship. Don't think I'm going to make it to the Saturday divisional playoff game, but I will be watching and thinking about having a viewing party. If the weather should be back to normal, not like freezing. If I can partner with a little restaurant or something and do a little viewing thing, stay tuned. I will keep you guys posted. Eric says Texans have a shot. Keep Lamar in the pocket. That's a tall task. I do think they have a shot. They've got as much of a chance. You got jokes. They've got as much of a chance as you and I going to dinner. Man, I guess they do. I'm still waiting for you to call me back. I think I'm on hold. Anyway, Carolyn says, I am picking Buffalo. I think the Texans can win, which means then the Texans would then have to go to Buffalo for the AFC Championship. Yikes. All right, listen, everybody. Mike says they got a shot. Listen, DeMeco said from the very beginning, you've got to be in it to have a chance, right? You've got to be in it to win it. They have managed to continue to stay in it. I think that CJ Stroud is the offensive rookie of the year. I think DeMeco Ryans should be coach of the year. Will Anderson Jr.'s got a shot at defensive rookie of the year. And I'm not down on Nick Caserio, but I do not think he is the executive of the year. I think you've got to give it to the guy in Detroit, who is, if I had a vote, is what I would do. Mark said, see if you can go on Club Shay Shay and talk about those reporters. Look at you. You are, i.e. Katie Williams. No, I'm not calling people out. That's not how I roll, Mark. You know that. And Mark, I am putting in a request I have put in to get an interview with Nick Caserio. If I get it, you'll be the first I let know. And Rainey says the way they are playing, you never know. Hey, listen, you got to be in it to win it, right? You've got to be in it to win it. And how exciting would that be for this city, this the franchise, but really the players, and the staff. I mean, I miss me with some of the stuff with the franchise, but just with the city and the people that are all involved, that would be super exciting. All right, everybody, we are out of time for today. As always, thank you for being a part of Chalk Talk. I appreciate you being a part of the show and making this possible each and every week. Listen, Kevin talked about Viagra helping with circulation. I don't really know anything about that. But what I do know is that Ginka does help with circulation. It helps with inflammation, and it helps with immunity. So if you are interested in some of those things, if you're in Texas, you can go to HEB. If you're not, you can go to iloveginka.com. And if you are in Texas, here is what it looks like, and here's where you find it in an HEB store.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Ginka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at that Ginka sale. Look at that Ginka.
And don't forget about Kimmy Treats. There's a fresh batch. It should still be a fresh batch over at Sunshine's Vegetarian Deli in Houston. If otherwise, you can go to KimmyTreats.com and you can get your vegan popcorn. There's Kimmy bars, and I believe they still have some of the body butter in this weather. You need it, or go to KimmyTreats.com and place your order today. This is what you can get. Hey, thank you, Bridget. Yep, let's see what these Texans can do. All right, everybody. We didn't even talk about the Rockets today. They've lost 4 or 5. They now dropped to 1 game under 500. We will get back to talking about the Rockets, and before you know it, we'll be talking baseball. And oh, by the way, our good friend Dusty Baker has accepted a job in the front office with the San Francisco Giants. Go Dusty. All right, everybody. Remember, do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Make it a great, great week. If you're out there in these icy streets, be safe. If you don't have to be in the icy streets, stay your behind in the house. Stay off the roads. I'll see you next week. Peace.